Okay, so we're live now, which is good. All right. Hello, YouTube and everyone else who's seeing this. My name is Benjamin, and
I'm Danny.
all right, we're doing. This is called Two Bad Nerds. So this is pretty exciting. This is going to be our introduction video, so you can get to know both of us. Danny and I go back pretty many years. I don't even know. I don't count years, but where did we meet, Danny?
We met at Toys R Us. We worked at Toys R Us back like in 2000, I want to say.
Was it that far already?
2001. It's been about 2001.
That's a long freaking time. But yeah, I don't think we ever were that close until maybe a couple years ago. We got a lot closer than we ever were. Even back then, it's not like we were didn't know each other, but we just got close in the more coming years, so which is pretty cool. And we decided to create this video session, to talk about movies that were based on comics. And I couldn't think of anyone better to do this with than Danny. He is crazy. You'll get to know. So let's just, you'll get to know him in a minute. So let's go ahead and start with the questions so you know why you should be tuning in. So the first question I'm going to ask you, Danny, is when and how did you get into comics?
I've been into comics since I was a little kid. When Mom would take us to the grocery store, there'd be the spinner racks, at Pathmark with the comics for $1, and it was like she would just leave us there, me and my brother, because we would read comics, the whole time. Of course, the people that worked there hated it because, the comics were never the same after we were done with them. But yeah, it was just the story, just the fact that you could read something that the story never ended, was always amazing to me. The story just kept growing and growing, and the knowledge you had just kept going on. It's not like any other medium.
Do you remember which comic you read first?
No, I mean, SpiderMan was always a big one, but I can't tell you which exact comic. And it was probably the worst comic ever. It was something stupid back, in the 80s. They weren't the greatest. So.
Right, and when you're young, you're looking at cover art more than anything.
Right.
It's content and stuff. So.
Right. It's all flashy colors and stuff. That's all you care about.
So that's good. I mean, I started from a young age too, reading comics, but I didn't keep with it as much as you have. I know that when I visited you, you have a large collection of comics. You have boxes and boxes full of them.
What kind of boxes?
I can't even remember what it was called.
Long boxes.
Long boxes. There you go. Everyone who is into comics knows what that is, and shame on me for not knowing that. So.
Yes.
So I guess I have to ask, how many comics have you read so far? Do you even know? Is there an estimate?
I have no way of knowing. It's just, it'd be hundreds of thousands. I mean, I've got 20 long boxes in my my closet right now, and that's just stuff from the last couple of years. I just have a ton. I mean, you can see from I got comics on my wall behind me. I have a lot of comics. So, but no, I couldn't tell you how many I've read, but definitely enough to know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's good. So you actually follow the series then. When you get into something such as Amazing Spider-Man, you actually follow that through. Right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always especially with a character like Spider-Man, there's not just one story. They run 4 or 5 comics of Spider-Man a month. So, maybe I didn't read every single one of them, but, I've kept up with the majority of the stories, through the years.
Gotcha. That's cool. So, I mean, I guess this doesn't even have to be said based on what you told us already, but I'm going to ask anyway. So, I'm going to ask you, what do you think makes you a good person to discuss these movies that were based on comics?
I think when you talk about movies that are based on comics, too often people get they're too negative. They expect the movie to be like the comic, and that's impossible, because a comic is over, 60 years, with something like SpiderMan, or many, many years. There's no way they can do that. So all you can hope for is really that they take some of the best parts of it and use some of the best source material, to make the best story. But you have to go into it knowing that there's going to be some things they can't do, and you have to kind of accept that. And I think for the most part, I can accept the positives more than the negatives in the movies. Some things really bother me, well, we'll get into that another time. But I don't like when they totally disregard good source material, because then I think you're doing a disservice, to the people who did write it. When you take just crappy filler, and throw it in there instead of using the good source material. But I'd like to think that I'm more positive than the majority of people who are as nerdy as I am.
Gotcha. And I mean, of course, it's a big difference. Someone like you who know the history and someone like myself who doesn't. I mean,
Right.
I know a little bit more than someone who hasn't picked up a comic ever, of course, but I'm still on the low end of that, knowledge base.
Right.
So when I see a movie, I just take it at face value, and I'm like, okay, well, this looked really good. The graphics looked good. The storyline kept me, involved. But I'm not looking into these details about what they could have done, that they should have done based on what was featured in the comics. So
Right.
that's a good, balance that we have.
Yeah, it's a good investment to have, because if we were both nerds, there'd be nothing, if we're both, knew everything about Spider-Man, there'd be nothing to talk about, because we'd probably have both the same opinion. So it'd be a pretty quick discussion.
Yeah, and that's what we don't want.
And
that's what
conflict, right?
Right, and that's what everybody else doesn't want, because who the heck wants to see us, agreeing on everything?
Right. That's no fun.
Yeah, we need some controversy.
Right, exactly. You gotta go back and forth a little bit.
Exactly. So let's end this introduction with, what do you plan on getting out of this experience?
I just thought it'd be fun to do socially, to meet people, to, interact, kind of share knowledge, and maybe, gain some knowledge. Anybody who knows me knows I'm really big into social stuff, Twitter, Facebook, Facebook not so much, but, Google+, Tumblr, all those different social networking things. I like that, because you can meet someone who's across the state, and they talk about something that you're into, and there's a sharing of knowledge, you learn about things, Twitter, you learn about things that it would have taken days for you to find out about it on the internet, or find out about it through email or something. You find out about it, right away, as soon as they know about it. So it's fun having that access to, that instant information. And I like being able to interact with people who are involved, in comics, writers, artists, any of those kind of people, actors, the fact that you can interact with them and they'll interact back with you, that's my thing. So, I want people to be able to come on to our show, and tell us what they think about what we're saying. They can agree, they can disagree, that's fine, that's what we want. But by doing that, hopefully, I can look at things a different way by them telling me things. Oh, I didn't think about it that way, and you the same way, learning I didn't know this part of the story, so that's what I'm trying to learn, is just to learn different aspects of stuff,
That's
and
good.
share knowledge.
I agree with that. I mean, obviously the whole point to publishing any of this is to have some kind of interaction with people and to broaden our horizons as far as what we're talking about. I mean, we're definitely not a guru when it comes to this stuff, but, obviously we are just like other people. We have our opinions, and we want to share them to get other people's opinions and take it from there, and, have it keep on going. So that's pretty good. So I think this is going to be a great thing to do. I'm not sure how often we're going to be able to do this.
Right.
There's so many movies out there that have already been out there for years based on comics, and of course, because that's the in thing now, they keep on doing this quicker and quicker. There's more comic-based movies being released. So we definitely have plenty to talk about, is what I'm trying to say.
No, definitely. I mean, and we can talk about everything, from comics, movies, video games, phones, iPhones, Google phones, Android, whatever, all that kind of stuff. There's nothing. I mean, we can talk about everything.
Yeah.
Whatever anybody wants to talk about.
That's true. We definitely
We'll
can.
tell you what we think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So, I don't have anything more to say here, so I'm just gonna say, welcome to Two Bad Nerds, and we hope to get your interaction with us, in the future.
Yes, subscribe.
Yes, definitely
Follow
subscribe to both of us.
Yes, follow both of us.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say so long.
Right.